This is a program I did in 2018, and this was part one. This is about uh, back to basics rolling stock maintenance on trucks. So uh, I'm trying to read what I got here. So let me minimize this. Okay. I don't believe I'm trying to make something go away so I can read my own writing here.
Well, we can read it.
All right.
Everything's coming through okay, Randy, on this end.
Okay. I don't believe the need to re-rail equipment all the time is just how it is. Complexity of our hobby distracts us from basics that make things work well, and simple attention to detail can make things work much better. Rolling stock truck physics and maintenance have a large effect on reliable operation and is a good place to start. See, I got a little guy here trying to re-rail a truck. Wakanda Lake County Mile Railroad Club, a bad order story. As two brand new members of Lake County Mile Railroad Club, a friend and I were frustrated with how it operated. So we bad ordered about 200 cars with bad order slip. We actually buried the yard in bad order cars. We started operating with the 75 cars that were left. And after rebuilding one turnout and some minor work to a diamond, we had a flawlessly operating layout. This example is confirmation that good operation starts with the equipment, and the trucks are a good place to start. Bad ordering 75% of the rolling stock might be a bit excessive. Perhaps a more systematic approach should be taken. Apology to anybody that's not in HL. This is all based on HL. Step one, understanding the NMRA standards and standard gauge. It's important to understand the proper and intended relationship between the rail and the wheel. NMRA wheel contour has prototype attributes that are worth understanding. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. You got the wheel taper, the radius at the flange taper, and the rounded flange. This is all part of an RP25 contour. It's intended, the taper guides the wheels toward the center of the track. The wheel flange gauge on the NMRA gauge is for gauging the wheels themselves. The other end of the gauge, the two ends of the gauge have two different purposes. There's two track gauges. The track gauge is at one end and the flangeway gauge is at the other. They are different. Notice down here, this shows the track gauge and the gauge shows the rails a little farther apart. When you're going through the actual flangeways at a turnout, the other end of the gauge is for gauging that part of the turnout. A lot of people don't understand this and wonder how that could work. But that's how it is. Normal track gauge allows room for the trucks to steer properly down the track and around curves. Larger wheel diameter near the flange travels farther and turns the wheels back toward the center of the track. Flangeway gauge is narrower than normal track gauge. This is allow guardrails to properly guide wheel flanges through the guarded frog area. See, I've got the regular gauge in ghost there. And this shows how this works. That the goal here is that the guardrail on the left here is to help keep the flange on the other end of the axle from picking the point. And you'll also notice that the wheel is always riding on a rail here. It's never intended to ride on the flange through the guardrail. And you'll notice that this bottom axle, right at the end of the point, the wheel is already being picked up by the by the rail outboard from it. This is like a cross-section view, and right here you see the point of the turnout rail, and it's actually on two rails at once here. Check wheels and axles. Are wheels centered on axles? Wheels must be engaged and centered on the axle for the truck to run true. Notice the spacing here and here is the same, and the truck runs true down the track. If the wheels are shifted off to one side on the axle, the truck will have the effect of running dogleg down the track, or as Teresa would say, kittywampus. And that can have the effect of allowing flanges to pick up switch points and problems, burrs on the rail. Do the wheels run straight with no wobble? Here, sometimes the bore in a wheel is not true, and it makes the wheel wobble. Are your axles straight? Bent axles can have a wobble effect on both sides, which has the effect of making the gauge of the wheels continually change. This is a problem in a flange way where the clearance is tighter and can have derailment problems due to that. Some metal axles on wheel sets are usually not a problem, but sometimes plastic axles on wheel sets can get deformed. Your axle's the correct length for the side frames they are in. Axle length is important for tracking and proper operation. Axles that are too tight can cause excessive wear and rolling resistance. Correct axle lengths have small amount of side-to-side play. Short or worn axles, shown here that the axle is shorter than it should be for the side frames, and this allows the side frames to drop. It'll have it basically allows the car to be run too low and gives the axle too much play in the truck. Short axle can cause derailments, and this needs to be explained here. Let's say the car is being forced to the right because of because you're on a curve. Notice right down here, you're up against the flange is up against this rail, but because the car is pulled to the right, the axle point is pushed all the way into this side of the truck, and this is particularly a problem for rigid base trucks. So what happens is over here, since there's so much slop, the wheel is allowed to ride up over the railhead. The flange will get up over the railhead because it's not being held down by the conical hole in the truck side frame. Any questions about that? In some cases, if it's real bad, you can have the underframe of the car sit so low that it rubs on the flange, of the wheel. That'll also cause derailments. You can also have the truck frame riding so low that it'll be below the rail head and actually rub on grade crossings and rub on the railhead at turnouts. Now I had to modify this because Reeboks is no longer in existence, but they once offered replacement wheel sets with axle length to match over 40 different manufacturers' truck. Their wheel sets can still be found occasionally on eBay. This I just stuck this in for this seminar. This is my data sheet that I've created for freight car trucks, and I know you can't read it. I just wanted to show how big it is here. But all different kinds of trucks have different truck journals, and I've boiled it down to there's metal trucks here, there's plastic trucks that are equalized. These are equalized trucks, and these are rigid frame trucks down here. But the important part I wanted to show you is here, wheel sets. With all the wheel sets that I've gone through, and found the length of all the different wheel sets, axles, and if you have problems with a particular truck with loose wheel sets, you can use this to work your way toward having axles that are long enough to fit the trucks you have. Now, in case of Reeboks, I just found on eBay and ordered some wheel sets that have a 1.055 axle length, which is very long, and that is actually necessary for some of the older sprung metal trucks I have. But in general, E&B products, they have good axle lengths to make sure that the axle points go all the way into the truck frame. Katie's wheel sets are actually pretty nice in that they have a 1.022. Things like intermountain axles, which are very popular for replacing in trucks, their axle length is pretty short, so the axles can flop around in the trucks and most rigid frame plastic trucks are designed for right around 1 inch. So you can see Tangent, Walthers, their axle lengths are right in here because they're more designed for rigid trucks. JB sells wheel sets are at the 1.015 area. And so anyway, that I just wanted to show this to show you that there are differences between not only trucks but the axles that are available to put in them for putting new axles in your wheels in your trucks. Okay, moving on. Are your wheels clean? Buildup of dirt or grunge can cause wheel contour to reduce effective flange height, like right in this area. This mostly happens on plastic wheels. It's not as bad on metal wheels, but it happens really on both. But plastic has a way of seems to attract the grunge. This shows one of my techniques where I just take a flat blade jeweler's screwdriver and turn the wheel set and scrape it off. It'll usually come off in big chunks. Use a corner of the gauge to do the same thing. A bright boy can clean the wheels. And in the case of Central Valley trucks, which I really like, a lot of them come in foam that is degraded, and you have to get the grunge from the foam off the wheel sets. And this shows me doing it with uh, a buffing wheel, but I've discovered that soaking the trucks in WD-40 or spraying them down with WD-40 loosens the grunge, and you can just wash them off. If you get grunge inside uh, the tapered holes in a truck, you can use the Micro Marks truck turner to clean them out, but be careful not to deepen the journal, because that can make that can make your axles loose. Side frames straight and flat. Are they side frames vertical? If they bend in or out, the axle points might not run true. On a piece of glass, if you put your trucks on a piece of glass, make sure that they're not warped. You should see all four flanges in touch with the glass. This is even more important on 3-axle trucks, passenger car trucks. Bolsters. Does the truck bolster opening match the type of car bolster? In other words, right here where the hole is, this happens to be a Central Valley truck. This is an Athearn truck here. Notice the large bore in the hole in the bolster. This is an Athearn truck on the right, or car bolster with a boss that sticks up, so when the truck with the large hole in it sits over this on like a Central Valley truck or trucks that have a smaller hole in it, the bolster needs to be flat like this. The distance for the coupler pocket to the rail head is important, and sometimes if you're using trucks also vary in height between the bolster and the railhead. So sometimes you need to use a washer to get the car to ride at the right height, so that the coupler ends up being at the right height. Are both truck and underframe bolster bearing surfaces flat and level? Tilted or rounded bearing surface, like if this is rounded, the car can rock back and forth a lot. When tightening up the screw on the truck, which I use brass, by the way, so it's non-magnetic, but make sure it has a little wobble to it. And in some cases, some people like to have one truck a little tighter and then have most of the play in the other truck, and that'll kind of help keep the car from rocking back and forth. But having just a little bit of side wobble to the truck will prevent trucks from lifting up off the rail on one side. Bolster type trucks have what I'm pointing out here is on a prototype truck, this is a little roller in an indent that the car bolster rides on. So when the truck tries to, or when the car tries to tip one way, the bolster on the underframe of the car comes down and it rides on this roller and keeps the car from tipping. Basic maintenance check: lubrication. Do not use any kind of liquid lubrication. I prefer using graphite grease-em, dry powdered graphite. And what I did was I take the grease-em and put them in like an old film canister, and then I can take my I stick a little bit of get a little bit on the end of a flat blade screwdriver and deposit it in the axle hole. Section 2, what causes a derailment? When a wheel lifts off the rail. If a wheel stays on the railhead, the car will stay on the track. This is an exaggerated situation where the rail does not line up with itself here, and you'll notice that a rigid frame truck, when it goes across the gap, the wheel is actually kind of airborne here, and there's not much keeping the wheel on the rail. On a sprung or equalized truck, that doesn't happen. As the wheel goes over, it comes down on the rail, and the truck frame will twist to allow it to stay on the track. This is especially true for 6-wheel trucks. On a Central Valley sprung truck, those the springs here, all 6 wheels will stay on the rail. I'm a big believer in equalized trucks. Metal wheels hold their profile and are easier to clean. This is the RP25 again. Self-gauging axles. Axles that have a step hold wheels engaged centered on the truck center line. Smooth axles like an Athearn wheel set, which is what's shown here. The axle is steel, there's no step in it, and the plastic wheels can just migrate on the axle. Metal axles are harder than the side frames, and they will hold their needle point bearing shape longer. These are 3 different kind of metal. Well, the one in the foreground is actually a Katie wheel set with a plastic axle, but these 2 are metal wheel sets. This one up here is a Intermountain wheel set. Fully non-magnetic. This is an Athearn blue box truck with steel axles being held in place by a Katie uncoupler magnet. During uncoupling, this truck will cause the car to follow and recouple to the train. Iron-based metal trucks or coupler-mounted screws, axles, wheels, or even truck springs can have this effect. So this is a metal axle being held in place on a steep grade simply from the magnetism of an uncoupling magnet. And the effect again is that when you're trying to uncouple, that magnet will pull that car right along and follow you when you try and pull away from the truck, pull away from the uncoupled car. These are all metal Central Valley Bettendorf trucks, and being all metal, they give they're 100% non-magnetic, and they're also good. They add a very nice low center of gravity to a car. The Katie HGC high gravity compound trucks. This is some of their newer trucks. They have a equalizing effect because the center bolster is in 2 pieces, and it can allow the truck to twist. These are very good trucks. Here's the truck from the top and from the bottom, and you can see the split in the truck bolster, and then this screw and this this plastic piece here is their centering system, where when this point here is centered crossways on the truck, when you pick the truck up or pick the car up off the rail, it will cause the truck to go centered instead of cockeyed on the body of the car. In other words, it aligns the truck with the rail. This is a Katie or the NMRA standards for the weight of a car. The different length of car in HO scale, the inches that car is, and this is the weight that the car should weigh based on their standard of 1 ounce plus ½ ounce per length of the car. Well, that's the end of this part. I'm going through it kind of fast because I got to get, I got 2 seminars to